listening to the Neil Lamptey Show. My name is Joey. I am joined by Neil.
Hi.
And by Imogen.
Hello, Joseph.
And as you can imagine, the entire podcast is going to be dominated by one game and one game only. So, moments of the Hull game for both of you, please. Haha, it's a joke. It's a hilarious joke. It's actually going to be a lot of talking about the FA Cup semi-final that we had against Manchester United. Tell me in one word, Imogen, how do you feel after that game?
Deflated.
Okay,
I'm going to go with that.
Blue. I feel blue, Joey.
Like that.
It's nice as well because the football team that we're talking about play in blue.
I know. I don't
Really?
feel quite sky blue. I just feel genuine blue.
Okay. Tempered at all with kind of happiness, joy, kind of. To what extent are you able to kind of take the positives out of it?
I'll go. I can. So there's different elements to my blueness, and a lot of it came just because we're now not doing much in the playoffs either, which is just a startling realization yesterday. Kind of hit me, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like only a few days ago, we had this really exciting potential, end of the season, and now all that sort of hope is really dwindled. But no, I'm still mega proud, like overwhelming pride in us from Sunday. A lot of defiance immediately after we lost, but the pride is still there just because of like everything that we did. Like it, I mean, people talk about not being able to write scripts and then they joke, or you probably could write that script. Nah, nobody's writing that script, I'm afraid, guys. That's just you dissect it to what it was. We're the semi-final of the FA Cup against one of the biggest clubs in the world. We've gone 3-0 down. And then what do? We come back from 3-0 down and score a winner. We did score a winner in the last minute of extra time to go through to the FA Cup final. Now, I have many dreams in life, and I couldn't even be bothered to imagine that one because it was just so far-fetched. That was just ridiculous what happened. And my only other point on that thing, because I'm going to pretend that it did happen, because it did happen. Like this isn't a goal that goes. It isn't a goal that goes in and then immediately you see the flag where I'm there pointing. I had all that emotion for a good minute. I knew that we'd gone to the FA Cup final for a good minute. I know what it feels like now to get to the FA Cup final because I felt it then. Now they took it all away, and that was devastating. But I still know what it feels like, and nobody's taken that away from me, apart from them, which I did.
Imogen, when we scored the fourth goal, and we did score that fourth goal, for you, was it the joy of winning the game, or was it the joy of having sort of overcome the deficit in that? I don't know, they're the same, but I guess. Sorry, is it about? Is it you're happy because we've progressed to the FA Cup final, or is it about how the game has gone and how we've sort of changed that deficit?
I don't think you can separate them. The feeling, no, when that goal went in, it was like a moment of elevation where everyone in that ground lifted almost off their feet. And to have that rush of emotion, because it was at the other end as well, there was for me, at least, a delay. And I think for all the people around me, a delay in watching it. It felt like it was in slow motion as that goal drifted in. And that moment of, oh my God, it's gone in. And just I couldn't form words. People turned around and we were hugging. I don't know who these people are. And running across, my friends were sitting not too far from me, running across, shouting noises. It wasn't really a word. It was more like, oh, and then just hugging each other. And at one point I had to just crouch, holding onto a metal barrier and sort of have a little weep, a couple of tears of just, oh my God, we've done it. We have overturned the biggest, most insurmountable deficit, and we have beaten a Premier League winning team. Not agreed, not that actual team, but the team of our childhood who decimated everything in front of them. We've done that, and we're in the final.
I know it's easy to say, oh yeah, but Man United aren't the Man United that they were. That squad cost £1 billion. There isn't even even Man City haven't spent more on players than Man United have in their current. If you put the total squad together as it stands today, even Man City haven't spent. But that's whether they're not very good at the moment or not. Like when we signed Wright for 8 million quid, we were like, that's someone's going to pay for that because we haven't got 8 million quid. I don't know what Doug King is looking at, but we haven't got 8 million quid even after selling Hamer and Gyökeres. But that, like, if you look at, I wonder when the last time United spent 8 million quid on a player. It was probably 30 years ago because like you couldn't buy a Man United player for 8 million quid nowadays. The odds, you really can't overstate how insurmountable the odds were of us doing it. And I think that's part of why it was so galling when it was called off. The other thing that I wanted to ask you specifically, Neil, is I can't think of many people in the whole of the UK that would be more ready to not celebrate a goal based on the idea that it could have been pulled back than you. Did you even for a moment consider that there might be something to check?
What I would say is I was the first person to notice the EVAH check on, on the screen. I caught my eye. I sort of I saw that moment before everybody else, it seemed. But no, it was too primal, like the whole thing. And also, it just didn't, we're the other end, so we couldn't see, but it just didn't seem like there was anything to argue with it. Like, it didn't seem, it looked fine. It looked normal, even now when you look back at it.
It's so far back in the phase of play.
Yeah.
I think I think I'm equally annoyed at the fact that, and I think this is a VAR problem generally speaking, and this isn't terribly revelatory for anybody, is VAR, I don't think VAR should be chucked out wholesale, but I just think they use it for Thierry Henry's handball against Ireland. I just think or when a player is like 5 or 10 yards off, like a mistake where because it's meant to be for clear and obvious errors. And I just don't think you go back and check anything else. I think you go back. I don't even think you check anything with it. I just think what happens is someone is sat watching the game and sees something that the referee has missed that's definite, and they go, "You need to look at this on the video because you've missed this." It's like it's not a big deal. You always miss.
Nobody's going to argue with that. It's fine. It's like, oh shit, you've missed that handball. Go and have a look.
But they're checking offsides for the sake of checking offsides. The problem is it sounds like sour grapes, and obviously it is when you get one go against you like this. I genuinely don't care. If that had been after the game and United had have won it and it would have been that offside, I wouldn't have been like, the integrity of the game has been ruined. I'd have just been like, well, sometimes you get offsides and sometimes you don't. But the idea that you're now someone scores a goal and you're now going to go back that many sort of like places of play and be like, yeah, he was offside here. Well, why? What? It's not. And it's the specific thing about, it's this argument of, what is football? Is football a spectator sport to be enjoyed, or is it a competition to be rigorously marshaled and controlled to make sure that kind of every rule is as close to the definition of it? So somebody else made a very good point about this the other day, which is that the idea was that VAR was meant to come in and be foolproof in the way that the goal decision system is almost perfectly foolproof. And instead, what people didn't account for is and I don't even think it's their fault. I think it's a systemic problem, but the sort of like the ineptitude of referees has permeated VAR because it's the same referees that are in. They're just watching it from a further distance than they would be if they were on the pitch. So I like it for someone like me who thinks that football is about the joy and the emotion. If we had have conceded that goal as Premier League fans, more used to goals getting called back, we wouldn't have celebrated that goal in the same way. And I think that's really awful. I think that's terribly awful. That if we were used to seeing goals VAR'd off, is that there would have been a huge portion of the 40,000 people that were in the stand that would have gone, let's not go too mad here because this could get called off. And then when it goes in, you've lost the moment. Like it's like a ruined orgasm almost. So it's a really naff kind of.
But it's a pretend. Sorry to cut you off. You had a word.
No, I think I was more than done.
Yeah, it's the pretend notion of scientific fact, which is really getting me at the moment. I don't like the one over the line thing is like, okay, everybody's running by the same rules. There's a system, it's in place. Look, sometimes it looks really close, but if the system says it's over and it's fine. This one, and somebody made a really good point as well the other day, where it's like, if they wanted to, they could have made that onside, given where they'd placed that line at the frame rate and all that sort of stuff. People go into the detail there, but my biggest point around all this is, can you prove to me that it was conclusively onside or not? And the fact that they can't, because you've got 5 different times where you might be able to put that line, or 5 places where means it's not conclusive. So like you're saying, like, it's just not in any way clear and obvious. It's not even close to being clear and obvious. You could even use one line and just say, here's a line. Look, I can't quite tell. Leave it, move on. Like, it's similar to that Sims handball in the Wolves one, where you look at it and you sort of think, looks handball to me. But they were like, oh, we can't conclusively prove it. If they'd used that same methodology for this offside, they probably would have not. They would have just let it go on, because you're like, I can't really tell, because you can't really tell.
No. And if football is the spectacle it's supposed to be, you know, the Premier League is supposed to be the finest in the world. If this is supposed to be the entertainment that they are promising, the whole world, minus about, well, I would say 38,000 in the ground, but there were significantly fewer than them. The whole world wanted that to go in. Like, everyone wanted us to win. And that's quite a rare situation for us, because no one gives a fuck about goal.
And it's
really.
a great goal. Look,
it's a great goal. It's beautifully worked.
Time in your run. You can't time your run anymore, because apparently you have to have scientific eyes to be able to time it perfectly. Like, the linesman can't judge an offside anymore, because apparently there's a better system in place anyway to judge it. It's like, it was a perfectly judged. He's gained no advantage. He's actually running backwards. Wan-Bissaka's going the other way. It's just this crossover thing. It's infuriating. It really.
Can you imagine how much Godden would get caught with VAR? I don't think Godden needs VAR. I think it'd be like, you take the day. You take the day off. I've got this one. Don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry about it, guys.
I want to talk about some of the stuff that we enjoyed, and I want to pick up something from you there, Imogen, about the finding out and watching the videos of United fans that had left before the goal was chalked off, and watching them try and get back in is one of the best things I've ever seen that's football related on the internet. Did you have, I think it's, whilst there's the disappointment, I think it would be lovely to talk about some of the nice things from the day. Anything else that kind of, because I think it was jam-packed with fabulosity. What else was lovely for you?
I think watching, when we started, we live and die in these towns, lovely. For me, more, it was looking over to those miserable saps opposite us and thinking, I am so glad I don't support United. Cov it's been a funny journey, hasn't it, that we've been on with Cov in our supporting lives. And we have really plumbed the depth of, there are whole seasons I don't remember, and I was definitely there.
Yes.
But I've just blanked them from my mind. Whenever we have to do those bloody quizzes that you think are a great idea, Joseph, and we talk about the sort of 2011 team, I'm like, couldn't tell you. Really couldn't tell you. Maybe
Didn't
3 of them. Didn't happen. I would take all of those years. I was going to say again, would I take them again? I'd take half of those years again for that experience, because it was the purest, most fun joy. We talked about it earlier on the previous pod, about the nerves that I felt before Luton, and we all felt before Luton. I didn't have any of that. No, I just loved it. It was, all the photos are just me gurning away because I'm so thrilled about being there and like dressed in a flag and having a wonderful time with some white inebriated people and
wearing a mark mask.
Wearing a mark mask.
Yes.
Here he is.
By the way, very good, but very quick thing. Well done on getting inebriated, because I'm guessing you didn't go anywhere near the fan parks.
Oh no, I didn't. I remained sharp-eyed, but there were quite a lot of people who were not. Steady on their feet.
I love a drink, as I'm sure has been well established by now, right? But we ended up. I was stood outside the ground waiting for it to open, because like the surrounding areas, the chance of getting a drink anywhere was so slim that the only thing that you could do was just go straight in the ground. I couldn't believe. The other thing that I was surprised by, I know this is meant to be things that we enjoyed, but it made me realise retrospectively how I should have been more grateful for when we went to Wembley the last times, because the last 3 times was like glorious, like shorts weather. And I was
Wasn't
like,
it? A
So
red
I was
raw.
like,
I was
I was
so
like,
cold.
it's fine. It's Wembley. You just go in like a t-shirt, basically, don't you? And when I got there, I was
Shake
like,
it. Yeah,
why
yeah.
is it not? Why is it not hot like it was before?
I'm
So
still
yeah,
feeling
I
it
was
now.
freezing all day, and
Yeah, yeah.
stood in that fan park where no one could get served, and it was freezing. I was like, this isn't the Wembley experience that I've been done. But
No.
the fair play on them getting inebriated. Speaking of going in and out of the ground, I would like to chuck in something that like I couldn't get my head round was coming out of Wembley. The amount of United fans who were singing on their way back to their respective transport, having not breathed a single word for the previous 2.5 hours, but then had gone through in the most embarrassing,
Yeah.
like pants pulled down fashion. There were still cretins on, and of course they're entitled to. But it was like you were like, how could you be so like I don't even know what the word is, like
Completely
classless
lacking in
Yeah.
to be
self-awareness.
like you and I coming out. You're like, you've
Yeah.
just thrown away a 3-0 lead. The only reason you've gone through is because you've had a goal given off against you,
A
and yet
mob
you're
of
like,
Antonies.
yeah,
Yeah.
come on, City in the final. You're like, I don't know, guys. I'm not sure how happy you'd be about
Nah.
that.
I'm scuttling off.
Just
Yeah,
like
it was embarrassing.
even the players had the decency to not even go and celebrate with Hoyland. Most of them just like skulked off the pitch when they'd won. You were like, yeah, that's how you shouldn't be like doing a lap of honour at this point. But the United fans coming out, they were like, come on. It's like, oh, I don't
Especially if you're
know.
not going to participate in the entire match. If you're just going to
Yeah,
stand there silent all game long, and then when you win, right? I mean, what a miserable existence. I
so
definitely would
pathetic.
not want to.
The only
This
words
comes,
they knew were Bruno. That's all they could muster in
yeah,
the entire game. And then I heard them a bit at the end, and that was it. And they'd all left. Extra time
Yeah.
came and they'd gone. I was like, you know that this goes on for half an hour, right? I mean, I presume most of you haven't been to a game before, but like this is
I
going to
thought
go
it
on
was
for a
really
while.
strange. Yeah, I thought it
Poor.
was really odd to have been leaving
Yeah.
before. Like, what? Why? Where are you going? What?
Look, if I'm not leaving Yeovil away, you are not leaving an FA Cup semi-final. Outrageous.
I wanted to touch on something that you were saying before, Imogen, about, and I think this is probably the central problem for United fans. So, have you two watched the Disney film Inside Out? I've probably used this as a sort of pop culture reference.
It's a good
on
reference.
10
Use it a
different,
lot, but no, I've not seen
I
it.
do, yeah. The what's it? So ultimately, the thing of it is that kind of joy only really exists within the context of being a light and shade version of sadness and things like that. And I think that the reason this is a very obvious thing to draw, but the reason that being a COD fan is so good is exactly because of the 2011-12 season. You have to know that boredom or that kind of like sadness or whatever else to then have the kind of comparative light of an FA Cup semi-final meaning so much. And United fans I've been to quite a lot of United games where I've had odd spare tickets because I live in Manchester, and the ones that stick out to me were, I remember being at a game where I think there's a really famous Paul Scholes goal in the second half, where it's a 4-1 win against Blackburn where they were 1-0 down at half time. I'll have to try and put the goal on the Twitter feed or something. But the 1-0 down at half time, and the fans, like booed them off the pitch like you've never heard. Like absolutely unbelievable level of like displeasure. And then United came out in the second half. This would have been about 2007, 2008, maybe, and just put on like a masterclass, like just unbelievable. And then at the end, they just all shuffled out. There was no kind of like, oh, we booed you in the first half, and so like we'll be grateful for just seeing one of the best footballing displays you could ever see. And I remember as well, I went to what Marcelo Bielsa's Bilbao team that had got Iker Muniain in it. And they dismantled United. They won 3-2 at Old Trafford that night, but that just from start to finish, poisonous atmosphere. The idea to them that someone would come and take them on and do a bet, just like so toxic. And it must be really difficult if you're trying to be sympathetic towards them to be so used to just winning all the time that it must feel like the most insane, like kind of inconvenience that someone wouldn't just roll over. But it goes back to that thing of how could you possibly be a United fan? How could you possibly be how could you take any enjoyment from it?
Well, that's the thing. It's that you're right. Those highs are as high because of the lows that we've had. And I sort of feel like that about Man City, actually. A lot of my friends and colleagues are Arsenal fans, and they always go, oh, why would you not want Arsenal to win? City are just, bought by a state. I'm like, yeah, but they went down with us and they went to League One. And all right, most of their fans there are plastics now, and it's probably a soulless ground. I've not been to the Etihad. And yeah, it can get a bit boring, but at least they've had some kind of taste of not being what they are. Yeah, exactly. They've plumbed not quite the depths that we have, but they've been there or thereabouts. And Arsenal fans, Man United fans, they have no idea. And okay, that's not their fault, but they do fucking moan. What are you whinging about? Like, you have the privilege of watching these incredible players who, Anthony's ear is worth more than our entire squad. And you get to go and watch that. Your team is on TV all the time. You don't have to log in from Transylvania to watch your team. Like, it's readily available. You walk into any sports shop anywhere in the country and you can buy your football shirt. Everything is catered towards you, and you're just so complacent and entitled. And that's not football. That's not our football anyway.
No. Go on.
Yeah, no, it's just why I felt like so lucky, like being at the game and being one of us. And also the fact that we then got to celebrate all the goals. And it was really funny because my favourite text of the day was from Laurie, where he said, I can't celebrate anymore. And I was like, yeah, I know exactly what you feel like. Like that fourth goal, like I didn't have anything left because all the joy had just come out of me. It was just the most joyful thing to happen, especially around people that you know, but also people that you don't know. But looking around these people who I've been to Yeovil, I've been on the broken coaches that don't get there in the end and all that shit. You've dealt with all that, and then you've had
the melted confectionery.
I have. I mean, that would have been the worst day of my life, but then it just happened. but it was just those moments. And I said, I think in a couple of podcasts back, or maybe it was the last one, that it was just like everything's sort of relative, and it was not until the next best thing that happens. But I thought nothing could surpass Gus, regardless of what could ever happen. But that goal that Gus scored in that Luton goal, and though it was primal and it felt the same, and I don't really want to compare, like, I think the cumulative effect of doing those 4 goals, was just amazing. It was just so intense, and I just don't know how you replicate that as a United fan anymore. Because if you haven't got any kind of investment, which it doesn't seem they do have any kind of investments apart from sort of this investment of negativity, then how do you flip that when you win? Like, we won in the end, and they just this faux shouting and faux screaming, and some of them pretending kind of feeling happy, but I don't know how they get to where we got to, and that's sad for them, really.
It is indeed. What about the game itself? We're not going to do a big dissection, but it would be interesting to talk about some of the elements of it. So one that I'd like to throw to you, Imogen, is, do you think that Fabio Tavares will place 3rd, 2nd or 1st in the Ballon d'Or rankings this year based on that one substitute performance alone?
All 3.
What got into him?
Fuck knows, but I hope he replicates it. Wow.
I saw him. I don't mean this to be disrespectful.
I think he listened to the pod. He heard your Fab Tav call to arms, and he thought, right, yeah, that's a bit of it.
I saw him score 2 goals against Maidstone and think, I don't know whether you're at that level. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then and I think they had it coming to a certain extent. Like, I think that type of player on that side was going to cause them problems, but Jesus Christ, where did
But what's great about it was like it wasn't that flash. It was like, actually, do what you need to do, control the ball, face him up, take him on. It's Wan-Bissaka, really good one-on-one defender, and he's still. I mean, because I've watched the match back twice for no good reason, like in its entirety. So just to get a sense of actually if I was making anything up, and it was a good performance from him. I thought maybe I'd invented it at the time, but it was so. The only thing he did wrong was maybe not control a long ball one time. But other than that, he was getting the ball. He was laying it off. He was moving forward. He was looking to get some crosses in. He was driving on. It's just like, okay. Because I'm the same as you. It's so funny. Like you see him score 2 goals against Maidstone, and you sort of think, well done, but I'm not sure this is ever going to happen for you, is it, mate? But you come on against Man United at Wembley and you make a difference and make an impact and put in a show like that. It's like, I'm going to keep giving you chances because you deserve them. He's earned it now. He's earned it. I mean, I want to see him hang around.
You makes you realise what a prick you are as a football fan, because he's like Maidstone game was basically the first appearance he'd made since coming back, was it, or give or take? And he's been out for a year. He scores 2 goals, and I'm like, you're never going to cut it at this level, lad.
Oh. His stats, his minutes per assist are great as well.
Yeah, but I think for me that it's that attitude. Like, at what point do you come on in that game and go, I'm going to have a go at this?
Yeah.
I think I could. We're 3-0 down, but if I really turn it on, I think we could probably pull this back. It'd be like, you've not even started in the first team yet, have you? I'm not sure you had that kind of like confidence, but I'm really glad that you had it. I thought he was terrific. I thought in terms of the other players that I thought were really fab, no pun intended, I thought Milan. I thought even in the first half when everyone was crap, give or take,
he was the one in the first half.
He was incredible.
I was really quite impressed with how he looked like he was at that level, like to a point where, and I said this maybe on Twitter or maybe I said it on Sunday after the game, and I got sort of laughed at a little bit. Is like, I think Sheaf, Sims, and Van. What are we going for? Evic?
I call him EVAH, but that's just because I hear it all the time.
Yeah, I go with EVAH.
It could be anything.
Well, I call him Hamer, and apparently it's Harmer. So
I think by the end of that game, I sort of think the only thing is that I think if you were a Premier League club watching that game, you'd go, them 3 players couldn't play in the Premier League. Like, that would be the final.
Sims, Sheaf, and Van EVAH.
And Van EVAH, yeah. I think if you were a scout going, I wonder whether these would be good players. I wonder which of these would be good players for us in the summer. I think that'd be the point where you go, no, that was all I need to see now. Is that's fine. I'd have any one of them 3. And I think that's a sort of, bittersweet thing for us. But that, like, I thought the 3 of those really, really stood out. Anyone else that you want to sort of single out for?
I mean, I very much enjoyed Louis Binks throwing his entire body into every tackle.
Good God.
Yeah. How is he not broken by the end? It's incredible.
He was up for it.
Yeah. He was really up for it. And as well is that, without wanting to go too negative, again, in terms of light and shade, I thought Kitchen was bad. I thought Kitchen was really, really off it. And I think Binks come on and kind of, even just the energy showed him up a little bit. And that kind of determination, I just think Kitchen just didn't. And I think I've starting to get a bit of a complex about Kitchen overall that I'm not sure is fair, but it is. But that's just, I feel it. And I'm not a huge Binks fan, but I just think, again, the energy from the 3 that came on. Who was the other player that came on at the same time?
De Silva?
De Silva came on a little bit later, didn't he?
It was a triple sub, weren't it? That was
Thorpe came on.
Of course, yeah. But the energy from the 3 of them, comparative to what was going on before, was such like an electric shock that ran through the team.
Yeah,
it was so necessary. And I think having watched it back again, what I found really interesting was sort of the really sort of clear ebb and flow in the game, where actually you could portion it out into who played well at different points. And like, obviously, when you're picking them in a match, you're like, who's played well across the whole game, and that's normal. But it's 120 minutes. There's going to be ebbs and flows, and like say, Van EVAH first half, by far the one who stepped up. As it moved on, second half, Sheaf, I think, started to feel more and more comfortable playing in that role and started to feel like he was running the show a bit. And as it moved on a little bit further, actually, I'll give O'Hare a lot of credit as well. I think in extra time, actually, O'Hare, his energy, his ability to get on the ball and just work things, make things happen, and his work for the goal as well was just fantastic. He looked good as well. I think in his moments, he certainly looked like somebody would be looking at him and thinking he could probably step up a level, because that's what you wanted. You wanted him floating and being gutsy enough to pick up the ball and be the one trying to set stuff up. And he got a goal, and he set up Tavares to put the cross in for Sims, and then he was involved in Haji Wright's goal. And they said the other day that he ran something like 17k during the match, like, which is why he couldn't play yesterday. And it's just like that's insane levels of energy. And then just another one as well, like my man Bobby as well. Just think when you could see just how absolutely knackered he was in extra time, knowing he's running against Hoyland, is an absolute whippet, really, really quick player.
Yeah.
And he threw it. It's just superhuman to be able to find ways to just summon up energy and throw himself into the tackles, make the tackles. There's one where he's obviously gone and it just drags him back, rugby tackle. That's fine. You're allowed that. But I think I was in real awe of not just sort of the fact that they stepped up, but then the absolute sheer determination to make things happen, even though they were all cramping up. Like, we don't realize how hard this sort of stuff is. I play, like, every time I play a full match, I just feel like I'm dead by half time. And these players, like, they're athletes, they should be able to do more, but their legs must be jelly. I saw one more point, like Haji Wright, when he took on Casemiro that second half, and he realized he had him for pace, and then he got to like almost the byline, and you could just see his legs just go, right, yeah, I've got no more. But that's it now for now. He just sort of stopped and ran out, and you're like, oh, that would have been fun if you'd done that maybe 10 yards earlier. But no. Mega performances all around, really.
And to have that titanium spine. As soon as the penalty is given, all he does, he just has a little spit, and then he goes straight for the ball. And I thought, Jesus Christ, the balls to do that. Because we were all in bits. Couldn't believe what had happened, because the shouts for Penn weren't actually that strong, and I was on the other side from it. Yeah. I mean, I think it was, having watched it back, but I certainly I didn't see it.
I didn't know what
in
they were
real
calling
time.
for. Yeah.
No, same. And to have the composure, there was no question in his mind what he was doing, where he was going. And for all this talk of Harry Maguire being the only decent one, like shaking everyone's hand, he was in Wright's ear all the way through that penalty.
I did spot that
on the
well,
build-up, and I thought, you little snake.
I think that's fine. I mean,
that's the thing. There's a difference, I guess, between in-match nonsense and at the end of the match, I'm going to shake your hand anyway.
No, I'm not having it. It's outrageous.
You're not having it. Okay.
I'm not having it.
I did spot that too.
Get him off the plane. I have no interest in it. But it didn't matter. And then he did it again. To be first in the penalty shootout when you have already scored against half an hour previously, that is bloody hell.
So American. That's what they do.
American. I did think that. I was like, yeah, comes late to the party and saves everybody. How American.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I've got the war. Don't worry, guys. I've got it.
Make Coventry great again.
Exactly.
The thing of then of having to take a penalty against the same keeper half an hour after you've just taken one of the most important ones, and now it's even more important. And thinking, what do I do? You're on eyed into nothing. Do you go a different side, and then it's the side that you wouldn't normally want to go?
Yeah.
Do you keep to where you are and have the very real danger of? But like you say, the main thing was the fact that there was not a blink in him, was there? It was like it was nothing to take a penalty, which is a remarkable thing. And also in terms of his I thought when you were saying titanium backbone, is they kick the crap out of him all game, and the stamina on the guy, but it was wild still that he was able to get up and down as much as he did. I'll tell you one thing that it highlighted is Tavares did brilliantly, and I felt really sorry for Wan-Bissaka. And the reason that I felt so sorry for Wan-Bissaka is Rashford did nothing to support down that side. It was embarrassing. Whereas Wright, comparatively, was up and down constantly all game. Maybe not digging in hardcore at fullback, but then you don't want him to be. But any time that we needed him to come back and dig in a little bit, he did. But the ability then to drag us up the pitch, I don't think he had an amazing game, but the engine on the guy to be able to keep going was
half that battle,
else.
Isn't it? At Wembley, especially.
Going back to Sims for a second, I could not believe how good Sims's play was kind of 30, 40 yards away from goal. So not just the hold-up play, but there was a point where you were like, this is like Harry Kane striker play. This is like for the O'Hare goal, it's so overshadowed by the fact that we have that insane deflection. But what Sims has to do to get the ball out in the first place and then put that cross in, to have the vision to see O'Hare, you just Sims is really, 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 really improving the longer he's here. But I don't expect that out of him. I also sort of don't even need it. I was really surprised that he'd got that much in the second half to kind of. We needed somebody to really do that for us in the second half, and I wasn't sure he'd got it. I couldn't believe how impressed with him I was, and the quality of that finish is
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
madness. I don't think it's like. I think it's one of them goals where you look at it and you go, "That's good," but then I think if you actually tried to score that goal, you just have no chance.
Somebody described it as I don't know if you like watch cricket or play cricket, but like a sweeping cricket, which is actually the perfect sort of analogy, because there's a snob in people where it's like, oh, it came off his shin, that can't be a good finish. But what he did was he knew he had to get over that ball. He knew he had to surround that ball and to surround it just to get some connection of it. Doesn't matter where it comes off, get connection, angle it towards goal at that pace, bounce in front of you. Most people sky that. Most people do an air shot or something like that. It's so difficult.
It's judging the bounce.
Yeah.
Where it bounces just before him is that, like you say, for that to be bouncing back up and for you to get under it, and it just doesn't matter whether he shinned it. The thing is, can you keep it down and get it to go past the keeper?
Yeah,
and get it on target. It's really hard to shoot on target when you're challenged by someone else. Just football's really difficult. People forget, don't they? That it's really hard. That's why they're paid so much.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I just and again, he just the way that he has come on. I'd be quite surprised if someone doesn't try and take him in the summer.
It'd be annoying, but yeah. It's just, especially because you sort of think maybe 2 months ago, is he just scoring against easy clubs? Is he just scoring goals which he's doing it by mistake almost? But it's the performances now rather than the goals actually which are sort of surprising me. It's the even last night, like just the aura that he had when he came on compared to what we had in the first half. Like he did that, he just dominating run down the left hand side. I think we forget sometimes just how quick he is and just how much he can offer. And when he gets space, like you say, the goal for O'Hare, when he had that space, he drives into that space, and you're like, you're not catching him. Yeah, and he's got that strength as well. And I hope we don't lose him. I mean, I haven't even considered that as a thing now, but now you've mentioned it, I thought, oh, anybody throws a load of money at him, we're probably not going to say no to it. But I feel building around him and like the idea of what next year might look like. You've got him, Haji Wright, Sakamoto, Efron Clark, that is a bloody potent attacking sort of unit.
In terms of let's to go back to fantastic things from the day. Do you know what I'm going to say here? You've just mentioned Sakamoto.
Oh, seeing him before the game.
Him being there.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Do you know how he got there?
Such shiny hair.
No, how did he get there?
He went on a supporter coach.
Oh, he did not. So much.
He's the new Kyle.
So I met up with the lad that I went with, my mate Harry. He's got mates, and one of them's mum is Doug King's PA, and they were meant to drive down. Then 2 cars broke down in the week of going, so they had to get the supporter coach. And then in the morning, we got these photos from these lads of them all on the coach. we were like, what? They were like, yeah. He's on the coach. I was like, I can see he's on the coach. The question is, why is he on the coach? And they were just like, well, that's just how he's come down. I was like,
sure.
But why? Why is it? It turned out that any player that wasn't in the matchday squad wasn't allowed to travel on the team coach. Apparently, that's a thing. So I don't know if you remember Tom Davis getting pissed on the train on the way down to the G2 playoff final. Yeah. Is that they're told, no, make your own way there. If you're not in the matchday squad, you can't come down. Apparently, it's a Robbins thing. And apparently Sakamoto just sort of went to the club and just said, I want to go down, but I'm Japanese. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Can somebody pick me up? They were like, yeah, it's fine. We'll just put you on the coach. They said his English is amazing.
Yeah.
He was asking about they were like, can we get a photo for our kids? And he was like, oh yeah, how old are your kids? Like, just like, they were like, you'd have never have guessed that he hadn't have just been speaking. They said he weren't perfect, but he just did a great job of like asking about their kids and was just like a lovely lad. Just very funny getting a photo in the morning that was like, why are you, what? You just think of footballers having like, I know it's not really like this, but it's having like chauffeurs or like he would have got his Lamborghini down or whatever.
Yeah. Get the helicopter, no worries.
He's just a nice young lad that was like, well, I just want to get to the game.
Oh, that's epic. I'm so sad that, imagine Sakamoto at Wembley. I think he'd love it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, we shouldn't worry about that anymore because we're not there. But oh my God, I just imagine him on that wing running riot. Oh, that's another dream. I'll do that.
Here's a question for you. We've been to Wembley 4 times in the last 7 years. How long will it be before we're back there again?
We're doing autos, so not next year.
Yeah, true story. This is it. This is why I couldn't feel too bad about how expensive it always is, because you never know if we never go. Like, it could be years. So I was like, we're all talking about, maybe we could be 4 times in the next 4 months because of the Community Shield and all that shite. But no, it didn't. Actually, I was like, no, just focus on now. Focus on the here and now. And who knows? Who knows?
Not like you to get ahead.
Wembley.
What did you just say?
Yeah, no, sorry. I don't know. I just don't get a good vibe from it. It's just a bit like, the picture's nice. Don't get me wrong, but I feel you feel a bit distant from it.
Do you think it's because you're from that London, or?
Yeah, probably.
Too normal.
Is it like
just a bit?
Do you mean the experience of being in the stadium, or?
Yeah. The actual seats, the seating. Not going. Like, going is great. Fantastic.
I get what you're saying, but I also think there's a sort of, like, I do think as well there's a sort of novelty value to that sort of in stadium experience. I think as an occasional one, I would be a bit disappointed if we went to the FA Cup semi-final and it was at like Turf Moor. Which is a ground that I love. Like, I really like going to watch games at Turf Moor because it's, pies are still £2 and like you're really close to the ground. It's like wooden seats and whatever. You don't like. I do sort of think that you want a bit of like prestige or luxury when you go to, and even if it's worse, there is something to be said for kind of like the pageantry of Wembley. I sort of I'll allow it a little bit.
Yeah.
Even the pageantry that we created with those flags, like you sort of think, what are these things? My God, they look so good.
They look
with
amazing.
The noise, and like they kept on what's the coverage again, and it was just they keep panning to it, and you see it, and it's just like it makes such a difference, and it really shows them like over the other side up big time, because all they've got is a piece of paper at the top on the top tier. You can walk it out, and you're like, nah. There's a team here that've come to make a real show of it, and that alongside We Live and Die in These Towers, it was just a proper moment. I tried not to film it. I tried just to exist. I thought everybody's going to film it, so I'm just going to enjoy
existed.
It was good.
It's great.
That was one of the only, in terms of the fans, that was only one of the only other disappointments for me. And then it turned out to be a huge, like, good thing in the second half. I thought we, the collective we, could have done a lot more to kind of egg the team on in the first half. It felt like we were almost as paralysed as the players were, because all we were doing was trying to stem their tide. We didn't do it. Whereas actually, it's that chicken and egg thing. Do the players create the stuff that incite the fans? Yes. But then if the fans can kick themselves off, it also pushes the players on. Just the noise that we created in the second half, and the kind of the self-perpetuating energy that what was happening on the pitch and the fans created. I just think if you ever listen to players talking not in the heat of a game, it makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
So even outside of the kind of post-game hyperbole of whatever else, if you hear them sat down like cold-blooded talking about it, they're just like, you have an extra bit of energy and an extra bit of fucking fight about you when the crowd are massively behind you. And there's something to be said for, in that first half, we were a bit silent, and then all of a sudden it was for 38,000 people in a stadium that's so distant from the pitch and everything else like that. In the second half, we created almost like a nasty atmosphere, like a really kind of like in your face. One of the highlights for me, weirdly, was singing "Sacked in the Morning" to Ten Hag. There was so much like viciousness in it, like so much.
Yeah,
it was so. Like it was right. It was so angry, so like spiteful, but that it was like domineering and like, do you know what I mean? And aggressive. Just think that sort of. I think even for Man United, it must be jarring and horrible to kind of play in that atmosphere. Like, you must feel like you're up against the crowd as well as the team. There's got to be something psychologically to be said for how difficult that is.
It's almost exactly what you mentioned in the previous pod, though. Like, you spoke about what can we do as fans and what it must look like if you're down the other end looking at us down that end. And like you say, I think the start of the game, definitely, like the noise that we're making with the flags, I think we obviously, like you've mentioned, we did kind of get a bit shell-shocked in that first half. We didn't quite know how to approach it. But that second half, again, I just think, what? If you're looking at that from the other end, because there's nothing they can do. If you're one person who's a really passionate Man United fan, you're not going to get them going. Most of them had no life about them anyway, so they were paralysed themselves. They couldn't do anything about it. Even then they scored, they seemed pretty limp. You just don't fight head on. It just doesn't work. You couldn't beat us as fans that day. It was never going to happen.
We've had this problem before, I think, haven't we, when the Rico and latterly the CBS has filled up because we've had a string of great results and all of a sudden everyone's turned up. And then everyone gets a bit frightened. And it's also the fact that a lot of these people don't come a lot, so they don't know the songs and they don't get the whole point of the fact that you've got to keep singing. You can't just wait for something to happen. Like it's kind of your part of the agreement is that you've got to push them on. It's easy to do it when there's 2,000 of you against Millwall, but if there is 25,000 of you and half of you haven't been much that season or ever, it's difficult, and that's going to be a problem at Wembley because some of those fans will have been around the country with them, and some of them this might be their first or second time going. So yeah, I agree. It was nervous, but maybe we got to the second half and just thought, this.
Yeah.
There's no hiding it now. We were already 2-0 down, and then we went 3, and you thought, well, let's just have a nice time, and look what happened.
And I think the other thing is, like, for me, I don't know how you guys felt about this. I went into that game thinking if I could have a realistic thing to aim for, I thought we could score 2 goals. If we could get 2 goals, even if we lost 4 or 5-2, like it would be, we landed 2 blows on the big Man United in the FA Cup semi-final at Wembley, and we'd have had that to enjoy. And for me, I thought at 3-0, I was like, well, it's really a case of whether they want a 4th or not. Then when we got the goal, I was like, I'd be fairly happy with this now. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, we've got the goal, and we got it at our end. Yeah. And it came fairly unexpectedly. We weren't like massively on top. It sort of just was swept in quite quickly. And I think that sort of turned the tide a little bit, didn't it? Of kind of like, well, hang on a second. If we can get one, can we get another? And then all of a sudden it really just went off, didn't it? You just need those moments. I wonder as well whether, I don't know whether you might think this is a bit bad. I think we might have to not really complain saying that we had a perfectly good goal chalked off. I think we had some luck overall. Like, they gave us a penalty in the last minute of a Wembley final. Like, there was it. I know it was a penalty, but we needed a goal in that minute. And one of their players just decided to handle the ball when they didn't really need to. I would say that counts as fortune. I know that their third goal was deflected in, but that's the 4th time that we've been in Wembley in 7 years, and we've already seen 2 freak goals. You would never have ever, like, so I'm thinking Shipley's and like absurd deflections that if that happened against your team, you'd just be like, well, what are you meant to do about that? Like, I think there's a little few things like that where you kind of go, if we have a load of crap penalties given against us next season, we might have to go kind of cosmic balance.
Cosmic balance.
We saw a shot from O'Hare that probably wasn't on target, somehow completely wrong for Onana. So we might have to live with a few.
It's mad though, isn't it? Like, I like to create narratives in my head, and one of the narratives that we scored 4 goals against Man United unreturned. We scored 4 in a row against them. Like, we would have been 4-0. Like that's mental. What are we doing scoring 4 in a row against Man United, like, at any given time? But then over the course of, it's like an hour, isn't it? We were just, Roy Keane said something very lovely. He didn't really say much lovely, but he said, we were like the Premier League team, and they were like the Championship team. I was like, well, that's just what I want to hear from you, Roy. You saying we were good, then we must be. That was.
Of course, he didn't know he was saying anything nice. He was just trying to be damning about Man United.
Yeah, you get that sense, actually. Tell you who he does like, Mark. I was
Yeah,
like,
bloody well think so.
That's yeah.
he couldn't help himself. Like, they did an interview on the pitch beforehand, and Mark was being his normal sort of low key, miserable, calm self, and Roy Keane, he kind of talking to him, enjoying it, and then Mark walks away from it, and he goes, "Yeah, looks like he's a great guy. He's very calm, and it's all the stuff that Roy loves in a person." He's like repeating it, like, "Yeah, my favorite person now is Mark."
Looking out for Micah Richards, trying to be like, why can't you be more like him?
I imagine Mark and Roy Keane arranging to go for a pint by ringing each other on their landlines, and then they meet in a pub. One of them buys 2 pints. They sit down, don't exchange a word, and then just get up and leave separately. And when someone asks them, they say, "I had a great time last night."
Yeah, the perfect evening.
Mark and Roy, I mean, Jesus Christ. Now, if we're talking dream dinner party, they're probably names 1 and 2 on my list, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Mark and Roy. Right, okay. There's got to be lots of more things about the day that are worth flagging up.
I liked specific the chance that we had, like the break that we had when Haji Wright had the shot on the left, the break from there when Binks, big tackle, first of all, out to Van EVAH. He then finds sprinting power from absolutely nowhere. And then the lovely pass into Sims, back to O'Hare, straight through to the right. And if we'd scored that goal of the tournament for me. That was just blistering to do that in extra time. And it was just the best of everything that we had that day. Like Binks, that tackle, funny enough, watching it again doesn't seem as kind of crunching, but in the stadium, everybody, when he made that tackle on Fernandez, was like, whoa, yes, that's what we won, that fight. And it kind of just sent everybody forward. So that was my favourite move of the day. And I just wish that had gone in again. I would have loved 5 goals. That would have been nicer. But
Sims hitting the post and bar.
Yeah.
Class, yeah.
And then being really pissed off when he was watching it back on the screen.
Oh, God, yeah.
I'd missed that, really.
Yeah, he's just sitting there going, oh.
Yeah.
And he
I was even closer than I thought it was.
He turns around for like moral support and no one else is watching.
No.
So he's just looking around going, oh, I could have scored that. Victor Torp's penalty, please.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Absolute delight.
Oh, that was perfect. Oh, my God.
Have we... Go on, Neil, go on.
Sorry, I just remembered Victor Torp's shot as well. That rocket of a volley. Oh, my God. Another potential. That could have been 6. Guys, what's happening?
What? Yeah,
Replay the game.
We were profligate in that game. That was the thing that all of us came away thinking. Was, if we only would have taken our chances.
I know, guys. God.
Have we talked about why isn't he in the team?
I know why he's not been in the team. Because Eccles has been playing well.
Mm.
It's like, I'd be really facetious about it, but this question comes up about all the players on this rotation. And it's the same about like Eccles when he's not playing well. Like, why is Torp not in the team? And then if Torp, like, he didn't play well in the previous game, he was pretty poor off the pace. And everybody's saying, well, you know, Eccles needs to be in the team. He's got more energy. And it's this sort of rotation of, and this isn't, I'm not pointing at you and saying you, but I just hear the question about why is he not in the team? And like, why has he not been playing? And why has this person not been playing? And actually, there's quite a valid reason why these people haven't been playing. It's just like we beat Wolves with a great looking team, and that we sort of settled on that formation. It's kind of my view on it anyway.
Oh, so, and I'm very, very fair. But I don't think he goes in ahead of Sheaf or Eccles. I think he goes in at number 10.
Oh, number 10, different entirely.
Yeah, because I just think, I wonder whether longer term there's a role for him as one of those two, perhaps. But I sort of don't want him that far back. I've not seen anything in him that makes me think outstanding defensive midfielder. But I have seen a lot in him that makes me think you've possibly got the best touch of any COD player I've seen since Mustafa Haji. Like the control, the ability to bring down any ball from any situation is elegantly as well, which helps his cause. Like he does it when he does it, it's like the most graceful finesse you'll ever see. But he can also pick a pass and a through ball better than Palmer, O'Hare, maybe most of the players in the squad, and he can hit a ball like absolutely hammer a shot. So
He
why
future,
are we?
Isn't he?
What? Yeah, you'd think, but then why is he? It's almost like there's this sort of acceptance that it's like, oh, we're bedding him in for next season. But I would have quite liked to have made the playoffs this year. I don't know whether I don't know whether he would have been such an inferior choice so frequently than whoever it is that's played at number 10 ahead of him. Palmer's
I
got
think he's definitely shown flashes of everything you've described, but there's also games where you think, well, George, a complete passenger, and we haven't
It's
got
fair.
time for that.
fair.
No, I definitely think he's one for the future. It's exciting, and possibly we were talking about Kitching, but I feel the same as you do in that he has had some really poor games. Maybe he's in the same position as Torp. Is that if we had a bit more cover there, they might have bedded him in more slowly. He wouldn't have been as exposed as he is. So maybe it's a blessing for Torp. I don't know.
Quite. What else from the day? Like the worry for me is that we're going to finish this and go, oh crap, I've forgotten a load of stuff. One thing for me that I can't recommend highly enough. Now this is not necessarily hugely game related, but that I stayed a mile away from Wembley.
Oh yeah,
And probably not even that. And my God, in terms of, I've done train down from Manchester, I've done coach down from Cov, train down from Cov, and for number 4, stay walking distance from the stadium.
Yeah.
Big
Do
time.
it.
Anyone that got a coach back from Cov didn't get back, or certainly the people that I spoke to till about midnight. They left
Couldn't
like an
handle
hour
that.
after
Not
the
that day.
game. I know. After that game, didn't get home. I nipped home and got changed, and then came back out and drank round Wembley. Like it was an unbelievably good decision.
Yeah.
So that
Did
was
you drink much the night before?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
But again, is that then I got up sort of a bit later, and I was like, oh, do we need to get the coach? No, I'm just gonna nip down.
I nipped out to Wembley in a bit. Yeah.
It was a really, really good decision. I thought the atmosphere inside, again, probably because the fan parks are crap and it was so cold. I thought the atmosphere in Wembley was good. I thought on the concourses before the game, actually, it packed up, but it like never got like obscenely busy. And it felt like I saw Laurie out of the blue, and I was able to see a lot of people that I would have liked to have seen that day on the concourses, which was sort of odd, kind of consequence of like the surroundings. I was fascinated to see that Laurie had come dressed sort of like a sort of Cov fan version of your man from Jurassic Park.
He's an absolute disgrace.
He got like
horrible white
sort of
corduroy
safari
shorts.
gear on, yeah.
I can't describe how much I dislike them.
Dislike him or dislike
on
them?
The screen. Did you see that? Did you see him pop up on the big screen?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't see him on the screen.
He was on there for a good while, but my hands were so cold, I just couldn't be bothered to get my phone out my pocket. But I was like, "It's Laurie, and then he'd gone. But yeah, that was a thrill. But I didn't. It was only the upper half of his body, so we missed the shots, I'm afraid.
On the subject of the screen, lots and lots and lots of people round by me, and I was stood in the safe standing bit, almost directly behind the goal, maybe ever so slightly to the left, right? Whenever there was a replay, I would say a quarter of the people round by me turned round to watch it on the other screen.
Yeah.
Can anyone explain that?
Like front row at the cinema. That's great.
I wanted to ask them what they were doing because there was a screen in front of them, and it wasn't harder to see because actually you had to look up and there was a stand. So it wasn't even like you could see the full screen. Every time they showed a replay, they were like, oh, the replay's come on. And I know it's come on because I'm looking directly at it, but I've got to watch it on the... like that.
Oh, maybe they think it's our screen. Yeah, can't watch that one. No, you don't.
But or that they'd got a better game on. Like they got something else was on that. Like they were like, oh, they were not bothered about the replay. I've just seen that in real life. I wonder if they got anything else on the other screen. I couldn't understand why people felt the need to turn around to watch the same screen, but in a more uncomfortable position.
Oh, God.
And as well is that the people around by me were livid all the way through the game because of the handful of United fans that were in that little section up at the top. Did you clock that at all?
In the strip?
No, after the first goal, I think there's maybe 3 pockets of about 2 fans in the higher tier behind the goal that kind of
Right.
like whipped their jackets off and had got United shirts on underneath, which is mad
But
to think that they
why?
didn't get
There
the
was
shit kicked
so
out.
much space in the Man United end. Why didn't just
Yeah.
go in there?
It doesn't make
So-
any sense. But they sort of revealed themselves. But the people around by me were really, really not happy about. Yeah.
Climb to
Like
the top. Yeah.
yeah, like the way that as well, not like young people who wanted to like kick off with them, not old people who were like, that is not the done thing. That is
It's
inappropriate.
just not
Do you know-
cricket.
Yeah, exactly. That's that sort of a vibe.
Ruin
about
my
it.
day. Yeah.
I wasn't that bothered.
Ex-players at the
I sort
match.
of think it's weird, but it doesn't really matter, does it?
That was my next bit. Ex-players at the match. Lots. Good to
Yeah.
see. Frankie was there. Gus was there. Max was there. Carl Baker was there. Good old Carl. They've
Carl.
got an affinity, haven't they? They love it.
Mm.
Do you think
Nice.
Dabo watched that penalty of Chiefs and was a bit like, see?
Yeah, it's
not-
hard, isn't
Mate,
it?
yeah, I
Told
think he
ya.
watched that one of Torp and was like, that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
Very similar.
It takes balls, I think, to come back. It's not. It
Yeah.
wasn't that long ago.
No, it does take balls, and I guess he was popular, wasn't he? There's still a load of them players that probably would have been like, we
Yeah.
want you to, we want to see you.
Yeah, definitely.
Won a league with us. He knows what he's doing.
We've done. I think we've talked about this on the podcast, so I don't know if we do a lot about this. But if you're Sheffield United, and Gus keeps coming to Cov games, wouldn't you be a bit like, what?
Oh, I heard he'd been told he can't come anymore.
There
Wilder
was
had
a rumour,
said,
wasn't there?
yeah, that Wilder had
going
said,
back.
no, you pay for us
Wasn't it?
now.
But I sort of think.
Possessive.
But I think sort of it'd be, if you told me that as a notion, I'd say, oh, that's crazy. He should be able to do what he wants. But then if you told me he goes to every Cov game, I'd be like, yeah, I'd probably wind that in.
Yeah. Maybe not every match, yeah.
I imagine that in my head, there's times where we've kicked off at like 5 and they've kicked off at 12. And like at the end of the game, he's like in a frantic scramble to get his clothes back on. And they're like, what's up?
Wash
He's like,
bag
"I've
overflowing.
got an hour to get back to Cov." They're just like,
Got to make the match.
Yeah. what are you doing? He's there every week.
He's got a box,
Time
hasn't
that
he?
the
I think he's literally got a box, so he probably has to get his money's worth or something.
I can't remember. Not only he's one of the most high profile players that we've had in the last 20 years, but I can't remember even, apart from like Andy Morale. Andy Morale is the only other player that I could think of that just kept turning up week in, week out. But that we've like the best player that we've had in 20 years, and he's just
Yeah.
like, just love it at the City. Just have kids.
Yeah. Max kind of reminds me of he's
Yeah,
just
Max
keeps
has
turning
got-
up.
Max was there.
It's
with
just
us, yeah.
funny. It reminds me of Brent turning back up at the office just whenever. It's like, you don't work here, Max. Like, come on. And he just turns up at the family day. I mean, I love him to bits. So I don't care, to be honest, but it's just quite amusing to see, especially when he didn't have a club. Oh, sorry, completely off topic, but I just realised he's playing for Doncaster now, who are now going to make the playoffs almost. Like they
Yeah.
won 10 in a row or something mad. Imagine, that's amazing.
I
And
gave
he
him a
also-
mask, by the way. He's
Did
now
you?
Did ya?
a proud owner of a
Did you
Mark
see
Robbins
him?
mask. Yeah.
Is he part of your crew now?
Oh, big time. He just made a beeline, you know?
Gorgeous in
Heard the
real
podcast.
life.
Talking, yeah.
Heard the podcast, thought, why not? He- yeah. Yeah, he's a very good looking guy.
I
You
just
seem
figured he's
hesitant,
one
but
of
you were swooning after him last time, weren't you? I seem to remember
Yeah.
the same story. Yeah.
Yeah, but novelty's worn off now.
Oh, I see.
I
He'll
I
look
get
at
the
this.
impression that he'd be bigger in real life than you'd maybe expect him to
Yeah.
be. And I'd expect him to be big, but I bet in real life you'd be like, oh, you're like quite big.
Yeah. I'll send you the photo. You can
I'd
see.
like it. I think you already might have done it. I just don't remember it because
No, there's a fresh one.
oh, that's very good.
Yeah.
No, it's gone.
Okay. Speaking of these masks, they prove very useful because people came up to me and told me how great they thought the podcast was. One guy,
Oh,
his name's
really?
John. Hello, John. He said, "Oh, yeah, you're the OGs." I was like, yes, we are. He
Correct.
said, "Don't do many though, do you?" I was like, "All right, John. Cheers. Careful what you wish for."
2012, John. 2012 is when we started.
Yeah, exactly.
We're getting old.
There's less to whinge about now, so you know.
We do lots
Tired.
when we're in League One or when we're in FA Cup semi-finals. apart from that, you'd be lucky if you find us.
League One, semi-finals, COVID, anything else.
Wait till Robbins walks out. You won't hear enough of us. It's constant 5-hour podcast wailing.
How long has this been going on for now? 12 years, is it?
12 years, yeah.
In various kind of states of frequency. 12 years ago, there wasn't anything. And so we did it because I'd read your writing and it was brilliant, and I'd read Ed's writing and it was great, and I'd listened to Paul and he's hilarious because he's so. By the way, I wish he'd have. That's what we need to talk about. I wish to God he'd have been on this. He doesn't really even talk on the WhatsApp group. Have you clocked how angry he is?
No, I've missed this.
Well, about what in particular?
Is he furious?
Oh, it's still now.
About
what he feels is like this has been taken off us. An FA Cup final has been like unvet. Yeah, he's like placards outside the FA, petition.org level.
I don't blame him. I really don't.
I like that because I almost thought he was going to be angry at anyone for expecting that we were going to get through and just be like, how dare you even contemplate that? But I like that he's gone the other way on it so firmly.
You've got to love the fact that you can never really quite predict how he's going to come out of something. Yeah, but anyway, the four of us when we first started 12 years ago, there wasn't kind of all the content that there is now. And so you do sort of wonder who is still listening, because you could just listen to any
big numbers.
You can watch City Unseen. That's the players themselves, and they're just basically talking to you.
There's no talking.
No.
And we don't.
Genuine fans. 4.9 rated.
Like the more that we do it, largely we're just like, you got to remember, we don't know anything, do we?
It's funny. It's funny how like we've basically embraced the fact that we don't know anything. We don't really have a structure anymore. There's fewer and fewer of us each week. It'll just be you eventually, Joey. I think just talking into the void. But
my dream. That's what it's been building up to largely. Is me kind of like a Coventry David Lynch, sort of sat here insanely opining to myself. That's the main problem that I've got, is usually with kind of this, is that other people then say anything at all. It'd be just my dream just to sit here unchallenged and kind of go blah 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 blah. Have a wanker I am at the end of it.
The sister pod, we can get that sorted.
There was someone else that Cov polls thing, that Twitter account would come back open, and there would be a new poll that was who's the least popular member of the podcast, and I would still lose it despite being the only person on it.
Do you remember when they did that poll? That was like we were only just started then. We were nobody.
What were the ranks?
300 votes on who's the best in the Neil Lamptey show.
And
very funny.
Surely Neil won.
I think it was Neil.
You predicted already. I won. Yeah, I did win. I definitely.
Yeah, Neil won. I think it was Paul second, Dom third, and me dead. I mean, like
it was
dead.
Ed. It was Ed. It was before the days of Dom.
Do you know what? We'd have to find it. I'm pretty sure it was about I think it was post Ed. I think it's like 4 years in. Yeah, and I think it was the four of us Dom in. By the way, we talked about it last week, didn't we? The reason that Dom's not here is that he was in Japan.
We've sacked him.
Incredibly bad planning, because he must have known that we were going to be in an FA Cup semi-final.
Yeah, we predicted it.
Yeah, all three of us.
He will be back with us soon. Anything else, guys? It feels like it does feel a little bit to me like we've taken some of the joy out of it.
That's what we do.
The last thing I would say, it probably won't the last thing because I don't do that. I was just so happy at the end of it. I was so happy at the end of it, and I'm still, in retrospect, so happy about it. What we got to feel and experience, even with the bits that were taken off us, was absolutely once in a lifetime.
And that's not even hyperbole. I think that's literal.
It is literally once in my lifetime. I don't.
Yeah, we're not.
You don't do that. You don't do that in an FA Cup semi-final against Man United. We don't even come back from 3-0 down. We just don't do it. It doesn't happen.
But I think as well is that even if we did get to another FA Cup semi-final, it wouldn't be the same because it wouldn't be the first time. So, and I just think that collective, as well, like the previous Wembley trips, Luton was a nervy, tight affair for most of it. Like there wasn't an ebb and flow of kind of power within the game. And Exeter was really drab in the first half, but then we just
so
blew them away
boring.
in the second.
We knew
Yeah.
we were
We
going to
just-
win. Yeah.
We in the second half they just come out and fixed it, and then the rest of the game was crap after the 3 goals, but you were just happy anyway. And we were 2-0 up for the majority of the first one, so there wasn't the kind of. It was very, very, very different to being 3-0 down against Man United and winning 4-3. And so even though we weren't meant to get to the final, like on paper and statistically and whatever else, but to come that close and do it like that was just what an absolute thrill.
Yeah.
And to have all of the United fans that I work with, so many United fans were just like, you should, like, by the end of it, I wanted you. But by the time we got to the penalty shootout, I actually just wanted you to get through. So embarrassed. But genuinely, I'd say 5 or 6 different United fans either texted me after the game or when I come back in work on Tuesday, they were like, I don't even know if I fucking look you in the eye because, like, just you should have won that. And it would have been better if you'd have won it. And like, there's a proper go to the game United fans. We're just like, even I wanted you to win it by the end of it.
What I love is the idea of the opposite of those ones who still think they're brilliant, listening to this and listening to us referring to the fact that we won 4-3 for the whole hour, like, and just completely almost ignoring the fact that we didn't actually win 4-3. But in my mind, I've separated everything that goes on beyond this point to the fact that we won that game 4-3, and it will always be reflected thus. That is what happened.
Me too.
One more question, by the way, for you, Imogen. Say we alternative universe, we not only win 4-3, which is what happened, but we also progress to the final, right?
Lol.
How do you feel? How do you feel on the morning of the final?
Yeah, less good. I'll be honest, less good. Oh,
Yeah,
can you imagine how bad that would be? That's why I think, although of course that would have been wonderful to say you get to an FA Cup final, we go out as moral victors. We go out with the world going, Coventry, what a fucking club. They're real
We're not
football.
smashed 10-0, yeah.
These noble, they've fallen on their sword, but brilliant. What a fucking game. You go to the final, guarantee the 4-3 is forgotten because they're too busy going, no one has scored that many in the first half before. This is quite insane. So I think, on balance, I will very much enjoy watching Man United get dicked on by Grealish and co. That will be lovely.
The story of David and Goliath is well known, but less known is the story of David versus Ultra Goliath, where he just got stepped on.
Clubbed to death by the carcass of Goliath.
2 weeks, he was like, they were like, oh, well done on beating Goliath, but you realise that's not the
this
final,
next guy.
this guy, if you think he's big, this guy's massive. Like, you're going to need like a much bigger catapult. The catapult won't do this guy.
Are you not entertained? No,
not really.
Get out.
So I think I book the same Airbnb a mile away from Wembley. I don't think I set off as early on the day. I don't think
I go.
I'm having a lie in that day, and I think I probably Did any of you watch Man City decapitate Watford in 6-0 that time? Yeah.
Mm.
They didn't look that good in the semis, but I mean,
yeah,
probably. I would have thought so.
Find a way,
obviously, it would have been brilliant to be in the final. I'm just saying that on the day, I don't think I'd have enjoyed even a second of it.
No, but to see Mark versus Pep, I think would be
that's not bad.
Meeting of minds right there. Yeah.
Wow, so happy.
I'd love it if Mark just came dressed as Pep. Suddenly got his polo network or something like.
His head.
Mark, you look different today. Oh, fashion in it, yeah. Just like dressed up like fucking Pep.
But he's still got his bright white trainers on. Yeah.
Mark with his Sergio Giorgini version of the Stone Island jumper. Too long, baby. Right.
Oh, I think we brought the joy back. Well done, us.
That's that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice. It's nice to get to the final, but it's nicer to win 4-3.
Yeah. Which we did.
Fab. Okay. I'm absolutely certain that we finish this and I go, oh, there's like a huge thing that people are going to be like, oh, you didn't even talk about the fact that, we won 4-3. Well, we did talk about.
We'll do it
Alright,
on the
that's
end of
fine.
season.
Yeah, there's more to say.
Yeah, and let's face it, we're not coming back before then.
Mm-mm.
If
Are any
we-
of you going to any of the remaining games?
I might.
Yes, that's my answer. I can't remember which ones.
I think I'll try and get to QPR at home perhaps on the last day,
same. Oh, God.
and
I will be there for that one. Yeah.
I'm going to
Okay,
try
good.
and get. I'm going to try and get a season ticket next season, price depending on a couple of different circumstances, depending family and stuff like that. So, we're the first time in about 5 years that I've been back properly. But
Good lad.
which makes it even more insane that I've continued to helm a podcast about Coventry City matches during that time, but that I am sort of on the verge of getting back. But that, yeah, I'm very excited about getting in. Assuming there's any space, that's the other thing. Will they have me anymore? I believe it's become quite popular since the last time I was.
It's a fad. Won't last, don't worry.
Right, well, it's been fabulous. We will be back with an end of season review that I won't be able to take part in because I haven't been there most of the season. But luckily, my opinion is wank, as Twitter polls will tell you. So thank you very much, Imogen.
Thank you, Joey.
Thank you, Neil.
Thanks, Joey.
Thank you, Victor, for your 4th goal in the game. Thank you, Mark, for everything. And thank you, listener. Bye.